I just read Discourse on the Origin of Inequality by Jean-Jacques Rousseau. He is a French political philosopher. The text was written in the 1750s, and it's one of the most influential pieces of writing for like the anti-monarchy movement. It influenced the French Revolution. It's highly influential for Marx, and it's really short. It only took me a couple hours to read it, so it was a weird experience reading it because he does this thing where he, for the first half of the piece of work, he tries to describe the savage man, quote unquote, and it's this idea he has of how man would look like in nature without property and without tools, basically. And he's responding to Thomas Hobbes' Leviathan text, where Thomas Hobbes says that his idea of man in nature is that he's inherently violent and possessive. And so Hobbes' political philosophies sort of reinforced authoritarianism, but Rousseau is responding to that and saying, no, man in nature is good and just and peaceful if you consider nature to be good and just and peaceful. And so basically his claim is that once property was invented, once people started to claim land and tools and whatever, that's when society became inherently unjust or unequal. And he goes through the difference between explaining the natural inequalities, which would be like height, maybe good looks, strength, whatever, and then comparing them to social inequalities, which would be passing down of wealth, property, whatever. It's a really weird text to read because it's clearly highly fictional. All the stuff he kind of uses to create his argument, but it's 1750s France, and at this point in time, the political philosophy that was popular or used by Hobbes and Locke and all those guys kind of centered around this myth making. So it's just basically thought experiments where they're no, imagine man in nature, he'd be good, and no, imagine man in nature, he'd be bad. He uses a lot of anecdotal stories. There's one really weird aside where he talks about Caribbean people, and what they're the happiest people in the world, despite the humid heat that would stir up any man's soul. And I just remember I was reading that and I was like, what? But it's not supposed to be anthropology. It's I don't know the adjective form of anthropology, but it's not supposed to be historically accurate. Yeah, what else? I guess the text is not that exciting in itself to read today. It's just the only point in reading it is to see how it's so influential on then the French Revolution, and then Thomas Jefferson, all the founding fathers, and then eventually classical liberalism, and then modern liberalism. But yeah, I got interested in looking into Rousseau because I hadn't really read any Rousseau, and I was with a buddy of mine who's Canadian, and he was saying it's interesting to look at the different political structures between America and Canada because America, a lot of their doctrine is written after being influenced by Locke and John Stuart Mill, who tend to strive for freedom or liberty as an ideal, and Canadian political doctrine uses a lot more of Rousseau's influence because they're French, half French colonized. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Discourse on the Origin of Inequality by Jean-Jacques Rousseau.